Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and more on the Lia Thomas story. Lia Thomas is, if you remember, that strange, sad, narcissistic individual who is not very good at swimming. Well, he's not very good at swimming against other men, so decided that he would swim against women in order to win titles and break records, and that's exactly what he's done. But now it emerges that a fellow competitor, a real woman, recalls with horror when Lia Thomas exposed his huge, ladylike penis. And this comes amongst more controversies over the changing of Chapter 9, where the term sex is to be changed to gender. And this will create far more problems for women, for their safety and their opportunities. Let's look at this article. Right, going straight in on this story, swimmer who tied the NCAA race with Lia Thomas blasts Biden for pushing to strip back Title IX, as she recalls the horror of a trans athlete who is attracted to women and displaying his penis in a locker room. Now, a man who is attracted to women, a straight man, in a room, in a locker room, exposing himself with women who may be undressing, may be naked, may be coming out of showers. There may be young girls there. There may be children there. Who's protecting them? No one. It gets worse than that. Riley Gaines, a 2022 graduate of University of Kentucky, recalled how she was forced to share a locker room with a man called Lia Thomas. She said in an op-ed piece for Fox News that at the NCAA Championships, Thomas exposed male parts in our women's locker room. This is wrong. Gaines wrote that she then asked officials where she could get changed, but was told there was no protections in place to change in a private place. In other words, they were not protecting women from being exposed to naked men. They were not providing a safe, secure location for women, because that man was getting his cock out. He was not a woman. He can call himself whatever he fucking likes, but he is a man, and he should not be in a room with women and children. She went on to blast President Joe Biden for proposing changes to Title IX that would change the definition of sex to gender and gender identity. They are not the same. Sex and gender are no more the same than a cow is to a duck. Doing so, she said, would put biological women at a disadvantage when competing against transgender women. She meant men. It's worse than that. Not only does it put women at a biological disadvantage when competing against men, it puts women in actual harm's way. Because you will have a straight man like Lia Thomas with a fully erect penis in a changing room because he's looking at the women that he's attracted to becoming engorged, and there may be children in that room, or there may be young girls in that room, or there may just be women in that room who do not at that particular time want to see a horny man. How is this even legal? How is it allowed? I'll tell you why. It's because Joe Biden is mentally ill, he is decrepit, he is failing, and even if he wasn't all those things, he would still lack the spine and the fucking bollocks to do anything about it. Because he daren't. Because he's craven and he's a coward and he can't say no to the 0.01% of the mentally ill in America. He cannot do that. And so he's going to endanger the 99.99% of women in America because of his complete, spineless, craven, weak, vacillating wankery. America, you deserve better, and you deserve better than this. You deserve... Anyway, a college swimmer who tied with transgender athlete Lia Thomas in an NCAA race is now blasting the dick President Joe Biden for proposing to change national sports policies to allow for transgender athletes to compete against biological women. In other words, it's okay for men to compete against women. So women, bye, you've just finished. You're no longer got sport. You're not allowed to have sport anymore. It's only sport for men and then sport for men who aren't as good as the other men. That's it. That's the only sports left in America. Since then, Gaines has been outspoken in her opposition to Thomas's presence in women's races, even condemning the NCAA for nominating him as the Female Athlete of the Year. And in her most recent op-ed piece for Fox News Digital, she slammed the president for proposing to change the definition of sex in a federal civil rights law to include gender and gender identity. Changes to the Title IX, the 1972 law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or any other educational programme that receives funding from the federal government, would therefore allow men to compete against women in sport. By doing so, Gaines wrote in her essay, biological women would be placed at a disadvantage when competing against men. I refuse to use the terms that she's using there, biological and transgender and that. They're men. That disgusting cheat is a man, and he's got a huge cock, and he likes flashing it around in the changing rooms with women and young girls and possibly children. Why does he get sexual pleasure from that? He's a straight man with a fetish. He's a straight man with a paraphiliac obsession with women's clothes. That's all he is, and he needs to be locked up, well away, probably in a mental asylum, and seeking psychiatric help for his deep mental illness. Anyway, in her essay, Gaines cited studies showing that biological men have, on average, 10% advantage over biological women in terms of strength, agility, and stamina. The male body is developed from the womb to be physically stronger and more athletic of the two sexes. Yes, there are only two, she wrote, which is correct. There are only two. To put real numbers on the female to male deficit in my race, 10% of the 102 seconds it takes to swim the race is 10 seconds, which is not coincidentally exactly the difference between the men's and women's world records in the event. So with effectively a 10-second biological deficit, I tied Thomas to the 100th of a second, which is relatively rare. Given this, you think that the NCAA would recognise this incredible accomplishment, at least equally reward us for trying, she continued, yet instead they gave Thomas the trophy for photo purposes. Yeah, because they have to spin their fucking agenda. They're wankers, one and all. I'm not going on. I'm getting so bloody angry with this. He's a cheat, and he's a pervert, and he is a danger, an absolute danger to women, if he's getting his cock out in a changing room with women and children present. He needs to be barred. And the NCAA need to look very hard in a mirror to say, why are they not protecting women? This goes on a long way, but I can't go through it. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm coming up. This seems to be pushed all over the world. This trying to negate sex for gender, but they're not the same. Sex is what you are. Gender is what you present as, or try to be, or would like to be. But it has no bearing on reality. Your gender is immaterial. Your sex is all. Doesn't matter if you want to be a woman. If you're a man, you're a man, and that's it. And if you've got the junk in your, pants to prove it, tough. You're a man. And even if you cut them off, you're a man. And even if you call yourself Susan, you're a man. And even if you wear a frock and put makeup on, you're a man. The only difference is you're a man with a mental illness. And you should not be allowed to use that mental illness to expose yourself to women and children, or to remove opportunities from women and girls in the fields of sport. It's wrong, it's unfair, it's unethical, and you need to grow up and get help. But what we also need is world leaders who are strong enough to say, do you know what? This is all bull. We need to stop pandering to these mentally ill morons and give them what they actually need, which is help. Psychiatric help. Not destroy the opportunities and safety of women. Anyway, it got me very angry, and I'm going to stop, but thanks for listening. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Complain to your politicians when you don't like things. and goodbye.